Throughout the centuries, warfare has always been hard, difficult, bloody, and messy, but was increasingly over the centuries made easier by the advancements in technology. World War I saw an astonishing advance of new weapon systems, tanks, planes, submarines. But from before and still today, digging into trenches, holes, or hiding in forts or bunkers remains fairly unchanged. Fortresses and entrenching, however, is also an advancing technology. But what if you do not have the options to dig in? What if no vehicles or tanks can assist you? What if your battlefield is 6, 8, 10,000 feet high, covered in snow and made of stone? The Alps are beautiful to be true, but the beauty somehow fades if I tell you you have to fight a war in them, with basically only what you can carry up a mountain yourself, or at best have hoisted up to you, and then do it for years. The beauty of the snow peaks somewhat fade then. At least on the western front, the soil and mud would at times absorb shrapnel, and if you survived being wounded, a first aid station or hospital was within reach. On a mountain peak, you better have carried a capable surgeon up there with you. Only specialized and extremely well-trained troops could even survive in such an environment, and nothing would happen fast. No large-scale offensives, just daily battle against the elements, the stone, and of course the determined enemy battling you for altitude in order to try his best to kill you from above. Through the pages of military history, not enough has been dedicated to the brave men who fought these battles in these mountains. But one thing is made easier by towering peak mountains and deep valleys, namely access control. And then there are fewer roads limiting the possibility of an enemy to advance. It becomes relatively clean where the ideal choke points to hold are. And since mountains usually don't have the tendencies to move around a whole lot when we're not looking, these crucial choke points have always been the same for centuries. From the Romans to Napoleon's advance, right here, meaning forts and defenses were often constructed on top of each other, or inside older forts, as I will show you in the series of Alpine Panzer forts. And I promise you, quite some surprises here, for me too. Today, I am taking you to two historically important, yet almost forgotten forts, constructed several thousand feet apart, vertically. One, a Panzer fort, Hermann, one of the most modern of the day, and one slightly older, Fort Kluze. Both constructed by the Austrian Hungarians and kept alive by a small dedicated group of a father and son team and friends. The Kluze fortress is a fort near the town of Bovec, which is today northwestern Slovenia. In the late 19th century, it was part of Austria-Hungary, and not quite so trusting their neighbors, the Austrians began constructing 5 of the most modern of forts of the time, and modernizing a slightly older existing one. The original fortress Kluze was built in 1472 near Bovec, on the road between Cave de Predil and Carinthia. The road dates back to the time of the Romans. Its original purpose was, probably, the defense of Friuli against the Turks. In the course of the 16th century, Bovec became Austrian as a result of the wars between Venice and the Habsburgs. And at the end of the 18th century, it was entirely under Austrian administration and remained so until 1918. Napoleon's forces took the fort in 1797 by placing artillery at a higher elevation, where Fort Hermann now stands. The fortress was then destroyed. The current fort was built upon the site by the Austrians in the late 19th century. Fort Hermann, however, covering the higher elevation, was built at the same time, however, as an artillery fort, very different. The two are linked by a narrow trail and tunnel. Fort Hermann was heavily damaged in 1915, but we get to that later. During the time of the war, Fort Kluze had 8 officers and 183 soldiers staffing it, with water wells and electricity. These forts played an important role in protecting the supply roads during World War I, and Kluze survived relatively undamaged, fortunately for us. So first we will start here, Fort Kluze, and learn of its story. Then we will begin the climb up the mountain to Fort Hermann, the fort which originally made me come here.
Oh, wow. Fletcher Kluze. Okay, Fletch is German name for Bovec, the town over there. When we were under Austria, the Bovec was Fletch. Fletcher Kluze. And what does it mean, Kluze? Kluze came from the Latin word claustra and means lock. You know claustrophobia?
Yeah.
The same word is here. Fletcher Kluze means Fletcher Lock because the valley is locked by the fortress. Very good name. When this fortress was built in 1982, the soldiers or the workers found 2 Roman coins from 91 BC. That means something Roman was here. It is not sure what Roman was here, but the road, yes, the road was during this valley. When the first fortress was here built at the end of 15th century, exactly 1475, the Venetian fortress was here. Venetian Republic, you know, Venice over there. And the Venetians had a lot of enemies, Turks on the south, Austrians on the north, and they built a wooden fortress. 1478, the Turks went through this valley and the fortress was destroyed. A few years later, there was a war between Venetian Republic and Austria was, how can I say, they win the war, and they built a new fortress. Why? Because this territory is very strategic important. That's why they built a fortress here. Not only the fortress, because during a few years later, we are going to talk about castle. Bovec Castle was here, never in Bovec. But there is a question. If you want to have a castle, you have to have a lot of money. But this region is not very rich. How to get money for the castle? I mentioned before the Roman road. During the medieval age, on the certain spots on the roads, they made a special toll station. You know what is toll station? The merchants have to pay certain taxes. And if there is a lot of cargo, that means there is a lot of money. That's why this castle was financed by trade, which were going through this valley. And what was the most important cargo? From south to north, wine. Venetian wine, for the neighbors up there, there is no wine. On the other side, north to south, linen, honey, nails. Until the end of 18th century, no wars here. 1797, the French army came into this region, Napoleon, from Gorizia towards Bovec, 4,000 soldiers, 4,000. The Austrian forces here, 400 soldiers. There is, how can I say, this proportion between
10 to 1.
Yeah, 10 to 1. What can you do? You can surrender, you can run away, or you can fight. The Austrians were prepared to fight. But I have to mention some things before this battle was launched. Across the gorge over there, I'm not sure if you see it, because on the other side of the fortress there is a gorge, the deepest gorge in Slovenia, about 65 meters deep. Across this gorge there was a wooden bridge, and the defenders, Austrian soldiers, took a saw and they weakened the bridge until when the French came on the bridge collapsed, and a lot of soldiers were falling down to this gorge. Among the first of these soldiers, there was a French drummer. You know drum?
Yeah.
Okay. When he fell down, he left the drum, and the drum was falling alone and producing different sound that the French soldiers were used to hear. That's why they stopped attacking this night, and next morning they attacked the fortress from this western side.
From up here?
Yes, and the fortress was destroyed. 1797. If you look up there one more time, approximately 85 years there were no fortress here. There's the question, why Austria-Hungary need to build a new fortress after 85 years? In 1882, Italy and Austria get allied. So, who built the fortress on the border with the friendly state? Austria. Why? Because Italy had a lot of territorial wishes or demands against Austria-Hungary.
Ambitions, we call it.
Ambitions. And these ambitions were so obvious that Austria made a lot of fortresses like this, not one, approximately nearly 90 fortresses, all along from here to along the Alpine bow towards the former triple border on Passo Stelvio, when Switzerland, Italy, and Austria were gathered. And a few years later, all these fortresses were in use because Italy declared war against Austria-Hungary. And this is the beginning of First World War here. Or we can tell zones of front. This is First World War here. And the fortress was very good because Italy were very afraid of fortresses and they didn't come even closer. Yes, at the end of the war, Italy was rewarded because they declared war against former allies.
Yes, it was a trade-off.
Yes, very trade. But how or why British or French or Russian government were so generous towards Italy? Because they offered foreign territories. Italy didn't want to have half of Scotland or half of London, but our territory here.
It's easy to trade off somebody else's stuff.
Of course.
Yes.
That's why, after the war, Italy came here and said, this is mine because it's written on London Agreement. You see, it is written. And for 25 approximately years, yes, until 1943, this territory was under Italy. The Italian soldiers were here in the fortress. Of course, 1943, the Italy capitulated. And who came here? Germans, for 2 years. After 2 years, Germans were sent home in this direction. They destroyed all the bridges along this river here. And who came after 1945? Americans. Americans for 2 years. For 2 years. After 2 years, the Americans were sent home, yes, or they went home, and this came under Yugoslav Army, Yugoslav People's Army. They were not here in the fortress. They were only connected with the fortress as the owners. The fortress was, how can I say, abandoned for until 1988, approximately. And then this fortress came under Community of Bovets. And after this year, we were trying to do something with this fortress. Mm-hmm. So how successful are we in this doing? You can say later if you're going to see the interior fortress. Yes. During the war, the only prisoners came here, Italian prisoners.
Ah.
Yes, Italians were trying to destroy the fortress because the Italians were trying to get to Vienna. To Vienna, you can go to this road.
Yes.
But there is a fortress. The front line is on the other side of the mountain. How can you destroy it? Across the mountain. They had a very large artillery pieces on the other side, approximately 305 millimeters.
Like howitzers.
Yes. But you can see the fortress is untouched. Why? because they were not prepared, or they didn't succeed to leave the cannonballs so vertical that the grenade can fall here, or the grenades went in this valley over there. But the upper fortress got some few hundred hits.
Oui.
It is semi-destructive, but still worth to see.
And both of these forts,
Yes.
there's actually a series of 5 forts for this area. wasn't there?
Yes.
They were all somewhat obsolete by the time World War II came around, certainly.
Yes.
They were somewhat obsolete by World War I as well.
Yes.
Sort.
This one was a little older. The upper fortress is made from concrete, a little better, but without concrete reinforcement. The stone is not very good because if the grenade came down, there is a lot of particles, small
Yeah.
particles. It's different than in the Western Front. In the Western Front, there is a lot of soil. If the grenade came to the soil, okay, some splinters
Yeah.
get around, but here is 10 or 20 times more because the stones are dropping and very much more stones are dropping and very much more dangerous here. For the artillery? Yes. Pieces were equipped with artillery pieces and machine guns and holes for the guns.
So this was, what was here, 57? What was this?
And it was model 1880.
Model.
Minimal short economic. Caliber was 12 centimeters. Made just for the fort.
Who made it, do you know?
Austrians.
Austria.
I think it's Panzer, Skoda. And later, in the other fort, they have a little more modern gun. It was 1896 model. Also made for this. You can see Scharte, it's written. And it's made in Gruson fabric.
Gruson,
Yeah.
of course. Oh, this is a Panzerplatte.
Yeah, it's original.
Oh, Panzerplatte from 1880.
1880, yeah, 1882, of course.
Wow.
But usually they, in the other forts, they destroy them. They put them out for the iron, they melt them, but here they are still there.
That is one of the earliest Panzerplattes I've seen.
And this is Lafayette for this cannon, still there.
So you can actually say this is one of the first armored forts because it had an early steel plate. That was sort of the definition of a
Yes, in that time it was very modern. And on the top you will have still armored.
So you're a father and son team
Yes.
that's taking care of this fort.
Yeah.
How did that begin?
In the beginning, I was in charge in the beginning, but today he is in charge. I'm just an apprentice.
So you started this, or was
Our
it
group
a group?
started with cleaning the fortress because many years ago the fortress was opened. Everybody can go into the fortress. They were sleeping here. They were making fires here. Everybody was writing on the walls and so on. Each year, a lot of dust here, a lot of garbage. And then we closed the fortress. And this is the beginning of renovation. And of course, the community of Balts came here and some money was brought here, and now you can see what can be done with this fortress.
This is. Oh, look at this!
It's a kind of the machine gun. You can still open this. Like this.
I love this. I love the little details.
Yes. Like this.
And you have the little mount for.
And this one is not in function anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of rust, you cannot move. But it is for the machine gun.
And rifle. Did you have searchlights? You had lights.
Probably, yes.
That would almost
There
have
was
been.
a light also on the road covered the upper fortress.
And you can
There
see.
was a special Scheinwerfer in Germany.
Yeah.
From the beginning of the war, late 1950 until the top of 70, the front line was on the same spot, without any movement in the Baltic Basin.
So,
Near the Adriatic Sea, there were quite a lot of movement.
yeah. Was there electricity here?
During the war, yes.
Oh,
they
yeah.
had especially electric power down there because the water is quite strong, so they made electric power down there. And even up in the mountains, from time to time you can see where the wires were going up. A lot of armies were marching here.
Yes, they were. So this is where the infantry would be fighting, both ways, outside. If they get in the courtyard to the right,
Yes, if you fight against soldiers when they are outside of the fortress, you can fire here. But if the soldiers are coming into the fortress, you can still fight here. So they were very optimistic. They were trying to fight until the end of, I'm not sure, life.
well, you have to fight until the end.
Yes.
And that's how we get the Alamo. So
This one. Oh, this is the road from Gorica, Gerzer, Strasse. Strasse means road.
Yes.
This is milestone.
Oh, this well, that's
Yes.
They make things nicer back then.
Very good, very good.
I mean, having a little piece of plastic now is a milestone. It's just not the same.
Or concrete is not concrete.
No, it's not. You have a basement. You have an underneath.
You can go down there, why not? I think it's strong enough for us.
I think I can do it.
Oh. How the terrain looks under the trenches. A nail, a masting, barbed wire, a helmet, a grenade over there. And some other things.
Very well made.
But all things are covered with the grass.
Yeah.
Time can cover all these things.
Symbolism is a lot of things these days. But it gives a good idea of what battlefields look like.
Yes.
Because usually one battlefield is never just one battlefield. It was also one battlefield 50 years ago, 100 years ago.
Yes.
Because you fight for the same places.
So during the First World War can be something like this because today we are going to conquer the Italian trench. After 3 weeks, the Italian can conquer it back.
Yeah.
That's why this helmet can be together with Italian helmet.
This is not a Caponier, is it?
This is Caponier.
This is the Caponier.
Yes.
It is my favorite fortification part.
This fortress had 2 Caponiers. One here and one on the other side.
In my book, if there's no Caponier, there's no fortification. It wasn't inspired by French or anybody else.
They had a lot of, how can I say, constructed. The French army was, how can I say, maybe the most modern one, and they were trying to do something like French army were making. And of course there are some, how can I say, specialties. Each nation had some specialties in building fortresses.
Yes.
You can see 2 machine guns to cover the road.
Yes.
From south to north. Also Caponier. Yes.
I mean, it's the same Caponier. It's
The
just
same,
two story ones, but yes.
same. But the first 4.
Yes.
2 for Caponier.
So, what machine gun? What were the machine guns?
Schwarzlos.
Which is the meanest looking of all of them.
You can see the place where the gas was launched. These pipes are from the German mine werfers, mine launchers, and these are casualties of this gas. The gas was launched near Bowitz, and all these soldiers here were killed in a few moments. The Germans came here and launched the gas. And this mask I'm wearing here, this mask was not very good. This mask was very bad. If you put the mask on, you are dead anyway.
Yeah.
But it is quite like this.
Oh, yes, those.
Like this.
Yeah, that didn't really close all the way.
No,
either.
no, no. It is good against chlor,
Yeah.
but not against phosgene. Phosgene was launched here.
Maybe mustard gas too.
Mustard
because
was
it
here,
would
but
come
not
out.
phosgene. Phosgene is too strong for this mask.
But the Germans did gas attacks in the area, but not here.
Not here, a few miles towards the bullets. And there was a gap because there was about 600 people were killed.
Yeah.
A hole on the gap, in the front line. And through this gap, the soldiers, German and Austrian, were going without any, how can I say, effort. Because it was no defenders.
Yeah.
Yes. But this was not the most important part of the breakthrough, because even there was no gas, the Germans and the Austrians would be successful, because Italy was not prepared unless they were known about the attack. They knew about the day, they knew about the hour, but they didn't believe in this information.
Yeah.
They got some information from soldiers which were running from Austrians.
And was it the Italian commander was Cadorna?
Cadorna.
And he was not exactly top of the
No,
line.
he said he was right. He wrote a letter to his daughter. His daughter was in a monastery. And in this letter was written, I heard that the Austrians are going to attack Italy. I don't believe. And a few days later, the breakthrough was launched, and Italy has to move towards the Piave River.
And he
100 kilometers.
yes.
This in 10
And
days.
he launched quite a number of suicidal attacks
Yes.
with his own troops. He didn't allow them to go home and leave or write home.
Cadorna was not very good. A lot of officers had to move because they didn't.
Yes.
They were not on the same level of opinion with Cadorna. If
Yeah.
I'm not with your,
He got rid of everybody who didn't agree.
a lot, several hundred,
Yes.
from the captain towards the generals.
And that's another legacy of Cadorna, is his men did not want to fight for him.
Yes.
And prisoner, it's still better to be a prisoner than it is to fight and be,
If I
yes.
surrender, the war is ended for me. I can go to prison, to camp,
Yeah.
and I'm going to survive.
And it's always been said that the men, they know if their commanders really care.
Yes.
Men always know.
And the Italian commanders didn't care much for their soldiers.
Very true.
The soldiers were, how can you say, in the Austrian army, these relations were better for the soldiers. I think so. Several villages all were destroyed because the Italians were not, they didn't spare. If you see a house, let's destroy this house.
This was the Italians that destroyed this.
Yes.
So the Austrians,
Yes. The Austrians were fighting, the Italy was attacking, defending.
But you said the original capital here is down here. As it should be. Because if there's bathrooms, of course, you have a fighting position. And they did renovate the bathrooms, so they're actually nice and that's fair. But you had fighting position. I love the round, the little dome here. You see how this is round with a firing position here. It's almost like the stone is carved. Ooh, I see shells and grenades and things and large, almost fortified windows.
Yes, shells, yes. Found near the fortress.
and more cannon positions up here. How many cannons were here?
Yes. One, two. I think it's one. Yes, one, two.
But you had, so you had two downstairs, two upstairs?
They're all against the Offizierkirche over there. You see?
Yeah.
Officers have to eat better than the soldier because the head needs much more than the muscle.
Oh, that's the excuse we're going with.
Yes, and the officer kitchen were never near the front line because it was a little behind, because it's much more safer to be a few miles from the trenches.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. You know what is this?
Oh, that's a rifle grenade, isn't it?
Very good, very good. Rifle shield, Austrian shield, Italian hand grenade, lenticulare, like lens.
Oh, so you did like this kit?
Yeah, like a disc, yes, yes.
That's very
yes.
interesting.
Italian helmet?
Yes, it is.
Oh, very good.
I have one.
Yes?
I don't know why.
Austrian helmet, much better. You know, during the war, there were no women up there. When the soldiers came down to the hinterland, they were visiting special houses. You know?
No, they were.
Special houses, yes. Casa di Tolleranza in Italian language. And of course, the hygiene was not on a very high level. Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of venereal diseases were there. Mm-hmm. And these two should help against venereal diseases. And it is written exactly how to apply this on a special part of man's body.
What is this? Is this ointment or?
A kind of ointment, yes, a kind. And in different languages, it is written in Slovene language, kako se varujete spolnih bolezni, how you prevent venereal diseases. During the summer, you can go here, mulatjera. Mules?
Yep.
Okay. But where there is a lot of snow, you cannot go here. That's why you have to build cableways. You can see transport of maybe killed soldier or wounded, I'm not sure. Normally, person were not allowed to go to the cableways. But if you got a good friend, in this stuff here, you can ask him if it's possible to get up, because it's much more convenient to get up with cableway or even down than walk. Because
Certainly, yes. He's hiding a steel dome from me. He's hiding a steel observation dome from me. How dare he? I can't believe it.
if you are an Austrian soldier, you would have like this and like this. The food was coming from the kitchen. Mm-hmm. The kitchen never near the trenches, a little behind the trench, yes. But what happened if the food cannot come to trench? During the artillery fire, lasting for 1 or 2 or 3 days, the food cannot come to trench. What can you do? The thing is empty. All Austrian soldiers had 3 things like this. And there is written Count K Militär Konserve Fabrik. I can translate. Count K means Kaiserliche and Königliche, Militär, military, Konserve means tin, Fabrik means factory. And there is written Bosen. Bosen, today Bosen is Bolzano, South Tyrol. South Tyrol. And there are 2 big letters, RG, RG. Each soldier knew what RG means. RG means rind goulash. That means, okay, let's eat rind goulash. Okay, you have to open the tin. This tin was opened by bayonet, you see, but not very beautiful. My son found this in the trench. Somebody invented tin opener. Very good. Even today you can open the tin. Okay? But the tin during the winter it's frozen. You cannot eat. How can you prepare this to be eatable? Very simple. Each soldier was equipped with this device. You see? Okay. Tripod, yes? Yes. You put in here, but of course, what can you put here? Today, you can put a small candle. But in the First World War, they were equipped with a special solid alcohol, solid piece of alcohol, which produces enough warmth to warm the tin. Okay? Okay? What happened with this after you consummated the food? There are three possibilities. You can throw it away. You can make something from this, like this, you see? The cup, very beautiful. Or it is one more possibility, this one.
Ah, yes.
You know what is this?
I know what that is.
Yes. This is a very simple alarm system. You put this on the barbed wire, which is in front of the trench, and if somebody is crawling under the barbed wire, even smallest touch produces the sound that the defenders can hear. Okay, somebody is crawling, let's kill him. Okay, and there is another possibility. Now I have to search for the photo. Okay, this one. This one, I'm not sure if you see. Do you speak English? Not English, German? A little Sammelstelle, that means collecting post. They were collecting things like we are now collecting for the ecological purposes. You know this? In Slovenia we call it ecological island. Mm-hmm. There are some boxes for paper, for plastic. And this was also during the First World War. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different places. Recycling.
Because of course metal was scarce, brass was scarce.
Yes, but this was not for the ecological reasons. Because there is written here for the Heimat. Heimat means homeland. That means you are good because you are collecting iron, you are collecting glass, bones, and so on. Of course, this was not up in the mountains, maybe down in the valleys, where the transport can be easy, because carry up, down from the mountains, nobody wants to do this. Yes. Okay. About this. And what is this? This is the cover of Italian mess tin. Mm-hmm. This was Austrian, this Italian. But why are these holes here? These holes were not made in the factory. The holes were made in the trench. Who made it? Soldier. Why? This is the cover, yes. There is more like this. The holes which were made in this cover. I mentioned the cover belongs to Italian soldiers. And Italian soldiers, not only soldiers, all Italians are very fond of eating what? On each meal you can put some Parmigiano, Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese, and this is a simple grater made by soldiers by nail. If you find a cover like this without hole, very difficult. All of them had holes like this or similar to this. They had a piece of cheese in a knapsack and put it out, and the meal is getting better. Okay? Okay. Okay.
The Italian is an army fighting on its
Yes,
stomach.
the Italian soldiers were eating much better than Austrian. The Austrian soldiers were hungry from 1916 toward the end of the war. The hunger was a very big problem, not only in the trenches, but also in the hinterland.
Yes.
Maybe even there better, yes. Okay, food. Okay, just a moment. There are some things in the bags. Why are in the bags? This is Italian. I'm going to show you the photo. You see? Like this. The Italian cans are always, how can I say, depicted. A lot of pictures is over there. Who is this man over there? This man is very famous Italian soldier. It is written, Alici alia Libya, you know, South Africa, North Africa, Libya. He was fighting in 1911, Italy was fighting against Turks in North Africa. He was very brave. You can see here his soldiers coming from the sea. Avanti Garibaldini del Mare. And after a month or so, he was killed in 1911. Why Italy put his photo on a can which was in use during the First World War? What was the, what did they to do with this photo? It was like a moral inspiration. If you eat a tin with this man who was very brave, you're going to fight like him. Okay? This is the Italian saying that maybe it was working, I'm not sure. Okay? Italian. That's the corner, okay? Okay. Now we consummated our meal. Now we have to drink, yes? Okay. The soldiers were very fond of drinking. This bottle belonged to beer bottle. From Villach. Villach is town over there on the Carinthia in Austria. And why the soldiers, not only Austrian, all soldiers in all wars, prefer alcohol to water? Why water is not good enough for the soldiers? You know, if I, as an officer, order you to attack the bunker over there, if you are sober, you are going to say, oh no, no way. But if I give you some spirit, some alcohol, some schnapps, some wine, you are going to be a little like this. That's why it's much easier to get to attack if you are under influence of the drugs. Yes. This is not only for the First World War. This is typical for all wars. In Vietnam, the soldiers were using a lot of things. Hitler and his soldiers in Second World War, they were all under influence of amphetamine, methamphetamine. For 3 days you cannot eat, drink, sleep, but you can march for 3 days without any. If you got this...
Prevagen.
Yes. That's why the Italian pilots were using cocaine. Not hiding, openly, like me. Okay, let's go up there. Okay, give me some cocaine and I'm going to be up in the sky with my plane. Okay. Okay. Food, drink. Yes, okay. This is a flask, Austrian flask, and Austrian cup for peace. Okay, 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 and at the end I'm going to show you some things which are connected with hygiene. The hygiene in the trenches was not on a very high level. It cannot be, because the water up there, it's very rare thing. But they were trying to maintain at least the lowest part of the hygiene level. Okay? I'm going to show you this one. You know what is this? Toothbrush. Of course, there are some things are missing, and that goes together. Toothpaste. This is the oldest European, I can say, in the world, factory in Austria. After you clean the teeth with the toothpaste, you can use this. You know Listerine?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Mundwasser. In German, Mundwasser means mouthwash. You can clean your whole compartment here with this. Very high level. Okay? Okay? I never forget the name of this factory, but at the end I'm going to remember. Okay, you've got? No, you don't got. For this, I can use this. You see? This is not for the hair, but only for the mustache and the beard. If you shave yourself, you have to use this. This is shaving in German. Rasierseife. Soap for, yes, okay? Okay. Okay, enough about this. And at the end, I'm going to show you some extra trench art, which is, okay, this one. Oh, 3 bullets, Austrian and 2 Italian. My son found up there. I'm not sure who made it, because you cannot, it's mixed ammunition, that's why we don't know. Like this, 1 Austrian, 1 Italian. And if you go to Sarajevo, you know Sarajevo, Bosnia, you can buy this. 2, 3, 4 euro.
What caliber is that?
Caliber American.
Oh, 12.7?
Yes.
Oh, 50 cal.
Yes.
From World War I?
No.
Okay.
No. The last war in Bosnia,
Wonderful.
Yugoslavia. And this is also bought in Bosnia. Panzer made from 2 small caliber ammunition.
Very nice.
Very nice, yes. And I've got here a small whistle. Sorry. I use it for our presentation. So, let me see. Okay. A whistle made by a man in Italy. Sorry. Italian ammunition.
Uh-huh.
It is, okay, if you get a little handy, yes, you can make it.
And that's important.
Okay, ammunition. Okay, and at the very end, I'm going to open this. You know this whiskey?
Good choice if you have to
Good
go that way in
choice,
the
yes.
afternoon.
Yes, you can come. You can try some if you want. I'm joking. This is, how can I say, the only things which is connected with killing. But in this moment, this is not a hand grenade. In this moment, this is a lamp. You see, Italian hand grenade,
Yeah.
you pour the ammunition, I mean the gunpowder out, you put some oil, and then a small piece of wick,
Yeah.
and this wire, and there is a lamp.
And you found this up there too?
This is a replica. My son found, but the wire is very fragile. I'm afraid to destroy this. That's why I made replica. Practically the same.
Yes.
You can find a lot of these hand grenades can be found in today.
Was that World War I Italian?
Yes. Sipe, the most popular among Italian soldiers. They were not very, how can I say, dangerous, because if there is outside for a day or two, the moisture get in, and the grenade is not dangerous anymore.
Yeah.
That's why it can be easily opened. Okay? Okay. No whiskey. Sorry, no whiskey. Okay. 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 Maybe just one for you. America. Not California, but New York.
Is that medicine?
Medicine, yes. You can read Squeeze, Squib and Sons. The factory is still working in America. I checked on internet. Squib and Sons, in New York. Found in a hospital, Italian hospital, because Italy was, how can I say, had a lot of friends. Great Britain, France, Australia, New Zealand, America. That's why this came to Italian hospital. I found it on the surface. Somebody was digging, but he had noticed this small piece of glass, and maybe I came later, a year or two, I'm not sure, and I found it.
I wonder what that was for. Is that was for the searchlight? Or what that was for? It's just majestic to see her next to the rock formation that I am now embarking on going up in order to get to Fort Hermann. That sounds like a lot of work on my part, but that's what we're here for. I'll do it for you. What is the fort looking at? Oh, this is what the fort is looking at. It is fighting this ridge, this little road here. This little road is what the fort is defending. And then you have the huge valley. And down here, you have infantry fighting positions. A little ditch with a little trench. All in stone again. It's a little frontal position. I mean, the trees would have been gone here, and you could actually see way deeper into the valley than you can now. And here you have the rock and the fort. And these steel plates here where the cannons were. That's just amazing. It was a Panzer fort. And it have a steel dome too. How amazing is that? There's a double steel plate. What would that be? What was that? That's a regular cannon position up there. But what is that? Another steel plate. This is how you began with the armored forts. What a step in the evolution of fortress design. Have a stone fort with a steel plate. You'll never see that. I've never seen that before. It must have been one of the world firsts. Absolutely amazing. Electricity would probably, there were electricity poles there. Yeah. All the infantry fighting positions. Oh, wow. Wow. The shortcut, you say?
Yes, you can see these stairs. In this moment, I'm Capitano degli Alpini, Paolo Rossi, 22esima Compagnia Battaglione Saluzzo. That means captain, Alpine troops, Battaglione Saluzzo. Paolo Rossi, it's Italian, common Italian name. Alpini are a special kind of Italian soldiers, Italian army. Maybe you know where the name Alpini came from. From Alps.
I would certainly hope so.
Yes, but you are wrong. The Italians are telling. Who gave the name Alpini? Alps? No. We, Alpini, gave the name to Alps. That means reverse. They are very, very proud to be Alpini. Mm-hmm. And even today, they had a lot of, how can I say, meetings where a lot of Alpini soldiers are coming together. When you go out of the army, you can take the hat at home. And you are very proud to wear this hat even after when you are pensioned and so on. So Italy had special ceremony about this. Alpini are the bravest part of Italian soldiers. Yes. So that's why I'm Alpini. Okay.
And that's why you have bad knees.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Not knees, a little up here.
So that's the Italian Alpini hat.
Yes, yes.
The Germans and Austrians had the Alpine flower. They had
they had
the Edelweiss.
The Edelweiss here.
Yeah.
They were Alpenjäger.
Yeah.
That means a kind of Alpine troops. But the Alpini were the first Alpine troops in the world. A few years later, French army got, and later Austria. And it's like in your America, in Marine Corps, something special. Because the Alpine region was the most important for Italy.
Yeah.
Italy wants to take these territories from Austria, South Tyrol, Trentino, and there are Alps. If you want to get it, you have to have special forces.
Yes.
And these special forces were or are Alpini.
And there was vicious fighting
Yes.
in the Alps during the First World War.
It was quite.
It was, and not to mention the Trentino offensive. What was it like? 8 of them, or
Yes.
and it did not go well for the most of them.
Fighting in Alps was not easy.
No.
That's why the most battles were not here in Alps, but near the Adriatic Sea. Later I can show you a special photo, my wife made it. You can compare the number of casualties and the altitude of the terrain. If the terrain is high, there is very little casualties.
Yeah.
If the terrain is low, near the Adriatic Sea the terrain is low, a lot of casualties. Because here you cannot launch a great offensive. You can't put 100,000 men into offensive here. You can prepare a small attack, maybe
Yes.
10, 100 people. While down near the sea, you can launch 60, 70,000 soldiers at the same time to get against Austria. That's why a lot of casualties. You can see maybe 10 or approximately 10. Over there. On the wall, there are some stairs like this.
That's the comfortable shortcut.
Yeah, very comfortable.
So Fort Hermann is up there.
Yes, approximately 100 meters higher, but this one is not recommended because the hospital is far away. I mean, the nearest hospital.
I mean, if you fall down from there,
You
really
don't-
need a
yes.
hospital?
But if you are very lucky, you can only broke your leg or hand, and you are going to be in the hospital within 2 hours, approximately.
It just somehow looks so majestic when you're here by the Alps.
They did point at the ladder, and I just sort of pretended to be able to see it. This is the rung ladder up there. And here you see the remains of a defensive wall that would theoretically have stretched across the road here. Defensive position, with little firing ports, just like there is on the other side of the fort. And now firing ports in all directions, but it was stone and it would not have held up well to artillery. So thank God no one shot at it, because here it is today. Putting a fort here, going in either direction, well, it's fairly easy to defend, and if everything else goes wrong, you blow up the bridge. This is a very interesting way to get up to the fort upstairs. It's built as if it's not really one of those places you really seriously mean people to come visit. I mean, this is the entrance to the top fort. That's somewhere up the mountainside. And I will say it does have this kind of feel that, well, you're welcome to come. And please do stop by. Just don't stay very long. And if you're going to make the trouble, bring cake. This is not the tunnel upstairs. This is a little cave. This is a little bunker type thing. This is where the wild boar lives. Oh, that's nice. So maybe we should just go continue further up the hill until we find the actual wild boar. They're still working on connecting a wall or something to the fort here. But the reality of the matter is, we're going this way. Up the hill of this wonderful cut and stone staircase, whatever the hell this is. But we're going up a mountainside to the cement fort that was shelled during the First World War and thus is a ruin. We all know how much I enjoy ruins, and especially since it's uphill, because we all know that history is always uphill.
We are walking up basically what could be said is a path. But this was actually the construction road where all the construction materials came up as well. And this is a nice reminder of just how much effort it actually took to move about in the Alps. Today I'm carrying about 8 pounds of camera and gimbal and about 45 pounds of backpack, comparable to light battle rattle. But to then imagine having to carry everything else I would need to live for a few days, ammo, grenades, ropes, hatchets. Then to imagine setting up quarters on such a hillside, bringing supplies of every day, winter, summer, and then have to fight here, maneuver small field guns around here, and shells, always trying to fight my way up the high ground from where I can dominate my enemies, while always covering or hacking or building defenses myself from their high ground. It really puts the Alpine War in perspective, and of course, soldiers were killed here. And many times it was simply impossible to evacuate their bodies, so they were buried here, or near where they fell. The entire region is thus full of marked graves of stones, if they were lucky and there was enough time. But for many others, their families never learned of where their fathers, brothers, or sons were buried.
And here's the gigantic gorge of pending death. 6 hours and 43 minutes of walking later, not really, we have made it up to the secure entrance to the tunnel that will lead us to the road up to Fort Hermann. Saying it is a protected entrance because that little thing damn well better be a firing port. Looking out over here, Hermann is right over there. Someone put lights in it. That's very nice of them. I'll have to look behind me for a minute, because it has to be. It is a defensive position. This is not about lighting. Outstanding. Okay. I mean, they really did a good job, because I had no inclination they would actually put lights in here for people coming up. I think that is a beautiful thing. And I know I'll walk right in front of you there. Straight it's not. However, what's down there? I'm kind of curious.
not where we're supposed to be going. But, oh, here's a little fighting position. And I see the cement here. Ooh. This was World War I. Very, very clean cement. Can we go for ammo? Or the firing position over the road? That's exactly what this was. Oh, firing position overlooking the road, poking out with the... Oh yeah, you can see the bridge right here. See the road come down. And then you would have... You know what? The Germans during the Second World War, they did make modifications. This sort of looked like you could have stuck an MG08 or something here, because they were planning to hold for the American Army here. This does look very nice and polished. When I say nice and polished, it is sort of nice and polished. Whited walls, polished. You know, the Italians were known for that. Lots of graffiti, but all of it looks like it's more recent. And damn it, we don't have another one. Yeah, we got more defended positions here in the walls. That's really interesting. Here's another one.
I later found out that these two firing positions were constructed after World War II by the Italian military as part of the Cold War fortifications here. Those I will show you in details later because they are incredibly intricate, really special, and of course in the same places as all the previous forts there.
You have all the cable holders, a little rudimentary cable holders, were just the same. So they were probably running either communication or they were running, at least electricity was running all the way up to the fort up here. Sort of makes me hope they were running food up here now, yeah. So even if it's just a stone hewed out tunnel, it still has a defensive purpose. Both ends and two firing points overlooking the road. And here's the firing point. It's much more pronounced. I can't help but to think this was a World War II. You had a little cubby hole for radio, munition. Oh. But now, of course, it's inhabited by spiders. Lots and lots of spiders.
Oh, wow. I don't know why I'd expected this to be more hidden or tucked away into the mountain. This is just a big arch firing position. This is really cool. You're looking the wrong direction. If this could be a lighting tunnel, this goes all the way through. This could be a lighting tunnel, but there's nothing up there to see it. This is just wicked. And then the road just continues, and that's why it's not a lighting tunnel, because there's nothing up there to see. No one would see it. So this is an observation and firing. When I, in my infinite wisdom, decided that for this season I wanted to do a whole bunch of alpine forts, because they're really cool. The one thing I hadn't thought about was they're also in the Alps, which are suspiciously far from level ground, beaches and bars serving pina coladas. They're actually very much uphill, where history is always found. So here we're looking at how they carved out the rock. They carved out the rock face to build this fort, and I hope this is not the construction road. I hope this is not where they brought the materials, because that seems like miserable even for mules. A little cubby hole for the crew, I imagine. Coming up the path, the first thing we actually see is this, built into the rock wall. And they ran electricity up here, and this might have been where they ran it. Now, the Germans during the Second World War, they did do something to these two forts. They did prepare to do a little bit of battle here with the Americans. They never really got that far, but the preparations were made. And I see some things that really remind me of the Second World War. Position. This cement was one of them. This was, well, the staircase is gone, so we're not going in. But you see heavy waterproofing. And a little bunker here. Just a little bunker for a couple of dudes on the way up to the fort with the road deep, deep, deep below. Incidentally, that's the road we parked on.
And my guess is that this bunker here might also have been Cold War design.
Or into the side of the path, we get to the first shelters here. Now it's time to go have a look at the first clearly defensive position, although it's very damn high up there, I will say. Let's see what's in here. This, I think, is just a little crew shelter. Wow, it's not even that. That's it. They were still building this thing. Wow. They just barely put up the barricades here. So they dug this in, presumably to connect with the next one. So here's the first one. And then there's another one up here. And I'm wondering if that is just the same. Basically a little, wow, this is it. This is all there is. They were still working on this thing. This is all there was. Just like in the other one, they were just hewing out the other one. So, this is not even the real fort, this is just a little stop on the road. Finally, we're up here at the fort, and the first thing I see is a very large bomb crater. Now, mind you, this shell was fired upon by heavy, over 300mm howitzers. So it's not a surprise that there's all these craters here around us. You could have easily told me this would be a small mortar position, but it's not. These are actually shells. Well, here we are. And this is the fort. Wow, it took some damage. Something hit this thing.
This is Fort Hermann. The reason I found this place and had to come here, it is a Panzer fort, an artillery fort of stone and cement, and it is amazing. It is imposing, several stories high and underground tunnels, and it have been shot to pieces, but constructed all the way up here, sitting on a rock ledge, overlooking Mountain Rumbon, overlooking the entire valley and blocking the roads below. The Austrians built it between 1897 and 1900. It was more up to date in its time than the lower fortification we saw. It was eventually named Fort Hermann after Captain Johann Hermann von Hermannsdorf, the Austrian commander of the fortress of Predel, who was killed together with practically an entire squad during the fight against the French in 1809. According to contemporary assessments of the construction, the upper fortification was supposed to be strong enough to resist shelling by even the most powerful guns of the time. And as you can see, that theory was put to quite the test. It was also modernized several times by the beginning of World War I. Soon after the first fighting began, the Sonso front here in May 1915, about 13 kilometers away, the Italian artillery shelled Fort Hermann for several months, firing in total of 3,840 shells, including the 305mm howitzer, and hit the fort over 250 times, eventually putting it completely out of action. However, the Italians did not try to storm the fort, but, unable to effect the needed repairs during wartime, and the fort now being weakened, the Austro-Hungarian soldiers left it for good in May 1916, and took the guns with them and placed them in other positions in the Bovig area. But a testament to the fort's construction is that only 9 soldiers were killed. The fort had 13 officers and 227 soldiers serving during wartime, with 620mm artillery guns and searchlights, and underground tunnels, of course. The side facing the enemy had 2 meters of tampered cement in layers, and the back of crushed stone, and the domes were held on Italian granite. There was a caponniere to the right, but very little of it remains today. Also, I find it an odd place for it. However, I'm sure there was a good reason, and probably a lot fewer trees. During the Second World War from 1943, the German army moved into the area here, but saw little action.
There's just artillery craters everywhere around it. And it's funny, as I was going through research and pictures of forts, this one just stood out as one I had to see, because it is a pre-World War I fort, but it has all the cement and rebar as you would expect from a World War I fort. And indeed, the damage it took was World War I. So, for the back, it had a big stone wall defending. And of course, more mountain above. But it was a stone fort. It had cement, so you can clearly see elements of the cement. This was a cement fort mainly, with some stone elements, but it didn't have any rebar. And we all know how World War I forts suffered from that lesson not having been learned yet, that rebar is a must when being shelled by, well, anything other than Napoleon I. I wonder if the black is from fire or from weatherproofing. It just looks so much more dramatic than the nice clean fort down below, doesn't it? It really has a thing. It has a thing going for it. This was a battle-damaged fort. Oh, look at how on the roof, how that section, it didn't penetrate, but it hit hard enough on the roof outside that it actually blew a chunk of it out. And you have here the metal holders. I could imagine these holders were the bed holders. So up here, could have been a steel plate in place there. Oh, I still see what's left of the tunnel. And it's interesting, it looks like they plastered the tunnel as well. And you see shrapnel on the wall there at the end. This had a bad couple of days. It's interesting, this was, looks like this was shutters. Shutters from the window here. Yeah, this was not a fire. Obviously, this was not a firing position. This is leading straight into the mountain wall. So, this was theoretically just a lighting window. So a tarp over here. Don't know why. Really is fascinating to crawl through. Back here, our shell had come in, just blown the wall out of the fort completely. These are not firing positions, although there are firing positions up here. And I don't understand why would you have firing positions here in the back. Nobody would come back here. Huge shell hit here, blew this up. You see the stones. So you have a stone and cement fort. But behind me, there's nothing here. There's just nature back here. Big wall protecting the back of the fort. But they were still thinking, well, maybe the back of the fort, maybe just be a little moat. But we're still going to protect it. Still need to be able to shoot at things. So here we are. What a beautiful place it is, though. Very unlike what it was back when it was fired upon. Such an amazing, what a hit. It's almost as if they've been two hit. How did they even hit from here? They came from they were firing at this from the mountain behind me. So they would have been lucky just to come in perpendicular to the mountain wall and hit this on the side. I mean, that's, I'm going to say almost more than a lucky hit. Except, of course, if you're inside the fort, in which case you'd probably perceive the whole lucky part slightly different. That's just me. Here we have... This looks like it could have been part of the wall, part of the roof. Hard to tell. And a little wartime entrance here, I'm guessing. So this is the entrance or the exit to the ditch into the next tunnel here, which is in somewhat better shape, granted. It really took some damage. This fort really did damage. But look how ornate. They still have the details up here.
It's fun to see how, well, even the World War I forts still had ornate design to it. Little design features, little windows inside, things that you will never see in the Second World War, where everything was so much more utilitarian. Here you had time for finesse and details, and a brick wall with, I don't know what this is. Here's a little cubby room into the next rooms. Same thing here. That's very interesting. This must have been holders for something. Something would have been hanging on these metal attachments. I almost see the clothing racks hanging here, although I'm sure it was something else. And there is writing on the walls, some of it original, some of it I'm sure is not. I can tell you the water looks clean. Not any diamond in there, but it certainly looks clean. See the second floor up there. You see the metal attachments for air, for the electricity. These are all attachments for electricity that ran in here. And this fort was electrified, World War I as well. But you see how thin the inner walls were. For a heavy artillery shell to penetrate, obviously the roof was thicker. See, the electricity just keeps going through here. Imagine if this fort had been occupied and battle ready and been shelled. Imagine if the fort below had been manned, battle ready, and shelled. It would have been utterly destroyed by artillery. World War I, World War II. That would have just been devastated. Covered in water, but with tile. The floors are tiled with square tile. It's gorgeous. And this is where the staircase was. But I really thought I was going to go for a walk up to the top floor. That's obviously not going to happen. But it was a good idea while it still lived in my head. Wow. Too bad. I thought I was going to go upstairs. I really did. That's it. See the floor tile? I love how the tile of the floor is tiled. And that's the upper floor that decided to come down here. That piece used to be connected there. I'm sensing. Wonder if there's a below floor
Seems a little optimistic to see what the floor below here, considering, I was trying to navigate this, considering we're up in a rock mountain. It would be a lot of work to ask for a basement, although it probably would have been very secure. A lot of the electricity ran this way. Oh, here's, you know what this looks like to me? That the inner fort was an older masonry. To me, this looks like the inner fort to my right was more a stone and mortar type of fort, and this outer layer of cement was an added protection, as we've often seen before World War I. This would be done to forts. And look at all that electricity, all this cabling that ran down here. Wow. What a cool place. What an interesting piece of history, really. Maybe I can get a better idea when I get outside to see if what I'm thinking, some of this was a post-war addition, or it was part of the original design. There is a floor below here. There is a floor below me. So the fort was actually in 3 floors. That's really something. The wood attachments are still here. And here's the ring in the ceiling. This is where you would use that to move the cannons around. And I'm still amazed by all the electrical that existed here. Trying to not fall into the pit here. And here through again, you have another little cubby holes that's running through the fort. Interesting. So I gotta get down there and have a look. Wow. Really amazing this way this looks. I mean, it's a beautiful landscape. It's just really annoying when the rain contains shrapnels. It really does make for bad days. But yeah, here we can clearly see 3 floors. This looks like a small caponniere here. that was just destroyed by shells. The whole connection to it was destroyed. Amazing. But here you can really see, there's the outer wall, what Hermann would have looked like. I think it was constructed this way. I think it was constructed this way with the little tunnels I'm hoping to see in here will be from there. Lots of shrapnel, of course, lots of heavy explosions. This, you really wouldn't have felt safe in here. I'll be really interested to see the roof, if they actually had any dead hits that penetrated or not. But this wall had a caponnier here, and this was all laid open by shell fire. See what's left of the little firing position here. It looks like brittle stone covered in cement. Wow. And I'm also seeing, woohoo, an underground tunnel. Yes, there is life in my world. Look, this is where the roof of the caponnier was. But again, without rebar. Without rebar, you just can't do it. Not in this day and not in this age. Pumpkin, there's a tunnel! So this is the staircase from the caponnier that leads up into this wall that I keep thinking may have been an outer wall later attached, but I could also have been wrong. It's hard to tell from what I can see, but it now explains why all of this electrical would be fed this way. Almost looks like the radio room. The radio room looks like the wall, the roof is cracking. And then we follow all the electrical in the ceiling here. All these attachments runs down to the caponnier, but also to the underground tunnel, because the bunker gods have smiled upon me and given me a tunnel access. Towards all this, we follow down to the tunnel, to the underground tunnel, which the bunker gods have just bestowed on me to go see what's down there. Okay, so from up there, from whence we came, where the cables go, the cables continue down here. So, what's at the end of the staircase? It's going to be really interesting. This is kind of how I envision it. You see all the cables, all the cable hooks are following. They probably follow out over the ridge and down to Fort Kluze down there. I would also imagine there'd be some room down here, like a radio room, comm room. Here's a sealant. We'll seal the doors. Yeah. See, here in the side of the grooves, you could use to seal off that section. That leads up to the fort, behind the caponnier. Then you come down here. There's an out. And the cables are following here, as I imagined they would. And to the other side, this
Would that be shelling? Would be the safer place for the fort, certainly. Down here, nothing could harm you, really. So the question is, did soldiers hide down here? Is this it? This can't be it. This may be a firing position or something. This can't be just it. Wow, it is. This is it. This. So they hacked this out. And you come out here. Or you can actually overlook the road. Yeah. Another firing position out over here. Out over the mountain.
These 3 underground tunnels were housing floodlights, tracking and ranging equipment, and observation, completely impenetrable and secure, and could see the entire valley from here and guide the artillery.
He was out overlooking the road from this little hole here. I'm imagining he would have been, or he should have been a firing position. Here should clearly have been a little firing port. And another one over there and over there. So there'll probably be 3 of these planned. They were really packing water here. And here's painted, cemented. Yeah. Another firing position out over here. Out over the mountain. The road down there. So they ran all of this electricity, all these cables, down here. What for? Just for electricity to the firing positions. Clearly there were firing positions up here, or down here. And I don't think they've been blown up, I just don't think they've been finished. So what we're really looking at is a couple of dudes with a machine gun overlooking the road. How much electricity do they need? Yeah, they need radio comms, but that's it. Expensive equipment. Like I said, you've seen my episodes. You know I have a rifle sling that I usually carry my camera on my shoulder when I crawl places like this. And when we were way down below the mountain, somewhere 8,000 miles below us, with cars, and I thought to myself, I'm not going to need a rifle sling, I'm not going to be climbing anything, except the vertical shaft into 3 firing positions in the wall of an alpine cliff. Other than that, I also believe this is my problem to fix. I understand, I'm a man, I'll figure it out. How my new gigantic enormous camera is going to be crawling down this little vertical staircase so I can show you all it's down there. This is the outside. I was wondering if it was a previous attachment. Now I get to look at it. Holy crap on a stick. It doesn't tell me anything at all, except it's been hit by a whole lot of shells. Wow. You had heavy gun position, artillery position sitting up here on the first floor. Let's look at this. Torn to pieces by artillery, this place has been. All these are impacts that just whittled away. But it still looks to me like this outer, it still looks to me a little bit like this shell here, this tunnel that runs inside here down to the Caponier. It almost looks like an add-on.
for lack of better words. And then cannons up here. This must have been designed as an old artillery fort. And again, you see the impacts here in the woods. The grenades just impacted everywhere, all over these forests. I saw some 280 heavy shells hit here. And here's another one hit here and hit around the fort. I always found these places of war and battlefields that I visited all my life to be incredibly peaceful. They almost have the feeling of a cemetery, which is, well, I suppose what many of them are, since there are still war dead lying out here in the forest that we have not yet found. But it's still amazing to see the endurance of men. And still, remember that up here in the mountains, fewer people died than way down below where it was easier to fight. But here, they fought uphill. It really does clear your mind getting away from the big cities. And there was a counterscarp throughout. There was a counterscarp surrounding the fort. And again, look at this, just shells and shells. All right, having now crawled up here on my own, without help from my production assistant or anybody else, braving death, well, not to me, but to the camera, which is all matters. This must have been artillery positions. You just have to have been. But let's crawl inside and see what we can find. Well, we're not going to find a whole lot of artillery in there. We're going to go inside on the top floor, just the same. If there ever were graffiti on the walls here, it's gone now.
Here was 4 120mm artillery guns encased in steel casemates with a range of 6,700 meters. Here on the side of the fort, seated in steel and stone domes. The guns and crews were moved to fight elsewhere, and sadly in the 1930s the Italians removed all of the 10-ton steel casemates for scrapping, which saw further destruction of the fort, of course.
So let's see what we can find down here, except rubble, en masse, and nice tiled floors. Well, good morning. Do you come here often?
Yes, it's my favorite spot.
This is where I say, always explore, because history is fascinating, but always explore with someone. That way, you're less likely to die, or there'll be someone to call someone if you do. This must simply have been large artillery positions. There must have been cannons up here, something heavier than at the fort below. There just must have been. In my world, we have and for some reason the separation, don't know why, except possibly the fact that the fort's been hit by 380 heavy shells, could be why things have separated. And I'm just throwing that out there as a possible, suggestion to why things are not exactly the way they were when it was new. So this is the first room we were in below. Why? Speaking tubes. I wager these are speaking tubes. Again, leading some credence to the part about this being an artillery fort
with 3 heavy cannons going this way. Oh, gorgeous this is. Even if the ceiling has somewhat separated itself from, well, reality. At least you can see what it consists of. That is the wonderful thing about some of these forts when they have been massively disassembled by explosives. You can see what they were. How they were built. And we have not been in this room now. I wonder what this space was. Obviously, this was another set of 2 floors. And again, heavy shell hit the roof. And see how it took pieces out of the ceiling inside, but it didn't penetrate. So instead of having a shell burst on your head, you're much luckier. You just have a bit of the steel or the cement ceiling fall down. That's much better. And the wooden door frame is still here. How neat is that? So here we are again, looking out the back of the fort, and I'm seeing a steel plate. Steel plates, firing positions, to the back of the fort, where there's a counterscarp, and theoretically no way of an enemy really getting into, but we must be prepared, must we not? This must have been for beds. What an amazing place. Truly is an amazing place. And again, all the steel shutters are in place for the firing positions. There's no way on earth you could hit anything there because you're firing. Well, you're firing point blank into this wall. You're literally firing point blank into this wall. Why would you be wanting a firing position to shoot here? I mean, I'm not going to argue it. It is what it is. I'm not going to argue that. But again, you really shouldn't expect an enemy back here. But, as Monty Python said, never expect this finishing position. Two floors here, firing positions. What's amazing is there's still metal stuck in there. I'm a really big fan of the fact that there's metal stuck in these, and I'm thinking these were holders for beds in between the firing positions.
There's tiles marked, 100 ceramic tiles.
Yeah, on the floor?
No,
On the wall?
Yes.
They tiled the walls.
Yes, maybe it was like kitchen.
Bathroom? I mean, I would think there would be a kitchen here that would be, you know what we didn't actually see? There was a kitchen down there. And again, the wood is in place. Very, very neat. Oh. There would have been some rooms just for the officers, I would imagine. Certainly, if it had been built by the Italians, there would have been. The Germans were a little closer to their men, even back then. But nice, the door seals are here. All the wood is in place for all the windows. And here for the heavy shutters that will close down here. It's just fascinating that there's still steel in place. I want to see if I can get up on the roof and see what those round holes up there were. Because it almost looked like a well for a dome, but it wouldn't have been because we haven't seen any down here, so that's not possible. And every time I say that, you all know, those of you who watch the show, that I usually found myself most astonishingly wrong, finding the most coolest things where I do not expect them. But since here's a hole in the wall, we're just going to pop outside and pop back inside. So here's the other side. Yay! So this almost looks like it would be an officer's room, wouldn't it? Oh. Well, this is a better way around. Come on in, there's a better way around here than to jump the hole and crawl the moat and scale the ditch and all those things. This looks like a nice little arch stone that's sitting right there. Here's a piece of metal. From somewhere. And this is opposing where the staircase would have come out here, I think. Yep, this is where the staircase would have been. It almost looks like the little, you know what? If I'm looking at the top of each window, shall we say, there was probably a rail for an elevator, for a lift, for the shells, for the munition in there, for the artillery. That is the smallest strawberry I have ever had. Not bad. These are solid screws. These are solid screws. There was something very, very heavy that was sitting here. What would you mount to the inside of a wall that's that heavy? And don't say a radio. Radio's not that heavy. Not even back then. There's like a steel plate sitting here. That I could see as a speaking tube. But these mounts also here. These mounts are something else. Hello. No, you're fine, you're fine. Look at all these screws and nails in the walls here. And again, unfortunately, most of the graffiti I've seen is way newer than I would like it to have been. But you, madam, has all the good eyes for that sort of... Oops.
Yes.
Have you found any graffiti that's period?
I didn't really look.
You don't always look for bones, but you always find those. She does. She finds parts of skeletons and humans and bones constantly. I can't explain it.
I was fascinated with them up here.
Here we are. Now we're talking with rubber. Here is a ring upon which a steel dome could have been placed. I could show you if I wasn't photographing over it. This almost had to have been the bedding for a steel dome. What else is round? Have metal tubes running to it, covering stones, and access to the inside of the fort. This must have been a steel dome. And my question is now, what happened to it? Where did it go? Was it an observation dome? This could not have been another artillery position. It is really damn big. This could have been an observation dome. Because look at what you can see from up here. Look at this. How gorgeous is this? This is why I wanted to show you
Alpine forts. And I'm imagining all this vegetation would not have been there at the time. And then you have this. Now this ring is smaller than the other one. It must have been an observation dome, because this is far bigger. But if this was an artillery dome, then what are the ones by the side? And did the lovely cubby holes here could be for munition? That would probably have held a rail, that little steel ball with a hole in it. So many questions I now have. Like, what is that steel bar? There's a steel bar right there. This is stone. It almost looks like folded over, but it can't have folded over from here. And this could have been another one here that have been destroyed. It looks like there was one here. It could have received a hit straight on. And then could have been a third here. Oh, here's even more. Look at the attachments here. Staircase has been destroyed. Speaking tube, absolutely a speaking tube. Right on the edge of the fort, that took a hit. This is really something else. I so badly want to see photos from this fort, from before this happened to it. It looks like there was two large rings here.
Here were two steel domes in place, each with 105mm howitzer made by Skoda, placed in each of them with a range of 5,900 meters. It was seated on a short rolling dome which would rotate. This was new. Completely new concept for the late 19th century, but as you know, we have visited several of these pre-World War I steel domes, and here the Austrians constructed a series of very advanced artillery forts in order to protect their borders. These were all very different in design. It was a time where stone and cement would begin to mingle in fortress design. Still, with the awe of a castle, but the look of huge bunker fortresses.
Although it's not very deep, granted, not being very deep means there wouldn't have been a deep infrastructure to this like the Maginot Line forts or the World War I French forts. There could have been a steel dome on rollers, manually rotated, and that's it. Speaking tube, this could have been a machine gun, it could have been observation, could of course have been both. Since these little cubby holes really do to me look a little bit like magazine stacks. The staircase is also gone here. Piece of metal there. And very close to the outer wall. Very close to the outer wall. Seriously. And then here would have been 4 gun positions. You really would want something really large and heavy to fire from here over onto the valley. So and you see the counterscarp wall runs back there. Here's destroyed by the shells. Bits of it there. This is really interesting. Don't need a hand, fine. I'm a little disappointed that you haven't found us any dead bodies. Huh? Well, I'm seeing. Alright, so here. I wonder how that fell down. There was nothing over it to direct it. Here's another. This is the speaking tube that came from above. And here's the other speaking tube from the other side, making my point. I see a bit of shrapnel in here. I wonder if somebody blew this up deliberately. Don't take the stairs down, it's missing.
No.
What are you finding?
Like the ground.
Tiles.
Yes.
It's amazing that they tiled these. This little room that could look. And again, it was very ornate with a little pinstriping on the sides. And then an attachment, grooves in the window, and then a floor separating. And I really am not clear on why this is. This I don't really, I absolutely, I haven't seen this. If this, I've seen it in other forts, it will be for lighting, but we are on a floor, so there's not that. Then you have these grooves. Now, if this was an old fort that was added to, then this would be the outer wall and the firing position, if that's the case, which I don't think it is. So now we have the original hallways here to these large positions, again with the same stones as upstairs. There must have been 6 heavy cannons, heavy guns on this fort. There must have been. Oh wow, this looks colored. Did they paint? Does this look like paint or does this look like fungus?
No, I think it's paint.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like a red and a green and a red and a green?
Yes, red and green stripes.
That's interesting. So, if there was a little caserne or a little rest area for people to eat, then this probably would be it.
The other side is opposite. Green, red stripes.
Really?
Red stripes, yes.
I did not notice that. So,
You know, keep an eye. I'm gonna make my whole looking like this.
I mean,
And there's
You-
like 4 nails. And this was probably
yeah.
for the
There's a lot of very interesting attachments on these walls.
Yeah.
And again with the ornate, a little bow on the window. And what a damn view you would have had if these trees are not in the way, but they are, so here we are. And this must be up to the, yeah. Oh, look at all this. Look at all these. Look at all these attachments here. Speaking tube, speaking tube. So this would have been, this must have been a machine gun position. Really is something. And I see, look at all the shrapnel here. Something exploded in here. And obviously these exploded. Well, I would believe that this would have been a shell, this would have been an impact on the outside that exploded, and this tore the loose cement out inside. And there's the ring for the heavy guns to help them move around inside. Or, as I'm also, and this is another ring that will be used to help move heavy guns. And this is right in front of this. This was a heavy artillery position. It just simply had to have been, because it has all the extras.
Underneath the main gun positions was the long, covered hallway that I found. Still not entirely sure if this was a new construction, reinforcement before World War I, but it led to the Caponnier, and as you can clearly tell, there's not a lot left of that.
It always intrigued me, this little cement tunnel. It almost looks like it's an add-on. Goes all the way down to the other side to the Caponnier. but it's really not an add-on. It's just very interesting how this, it looks and feels like it should be something that was added on. I guess we can go inside for a minute. An amazing place. There's something beautiful about decay and things that are blown up. I guess you disagree if you were actually inside them when they were blown up, but I mean, really, we can't have all this complaining going on.
This looks like the marks.
That's shrapnel, which looks the same. Well, actually, you know what? This looks, you're right, this looks like a bullet impact.
Yeah, so there
But
was
this-
some
these-
fire from this side, and maybe
And there
that's,
as well, yeah.
maybe it was from the inside. That's why it's blown up.
I mean, if I look at this, I would think shrapnel from the inside. Something blew up in here, but also people could have been firing at this. If they could have, he say there wasn't any firing here or battle for this?
I mean, he was not here or something.
True. And this is another room that has come down nicely. Whew. And the wood still in place. It's really interesting how. Then you get to a stone wall full of stone that doesn't lead into another room like the other two next to it. There's a room behind this. There is a room behind it. There has to be. Do you have the flashlight? No, the red one, the good one? What's this? There is? Why is this particular wall bricked up? This I can't show you on the camera because but this room leads, okay, this leads into the tunnel. I don't know why this is bricked up though. But this is way deeper.
And it looks like there is cement and it's rounded.
Because these stones look like the stones from the artillery position above. That lizard has come down. I mean, they look that way.
If you are interested in seeing what's inside, you can do it from here.
I can also crawl through the...
As far as I can tell, without having any plans, these 4 rooms were ammunition stores, powder rooms, underneath the main 4 guns. The small doors probably led to one, a protected hallway, and possibly a munition lift as well.
little cement tunnel. But it looks like some of this was patches. They're trying to fix stuff, emergency repairs. This becomes a problem. If this was shell or... And this is that big room.
You can see this room from the upstairs.
Yeah.
And there is also the impact from the outside, I guess.
I mean, that's what I'm going by. But honestly, I'm starting to wonder if some of this damage was not blown up after, if it wasn't just blown up by somebody.
Inside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all this, it looks very much like charges were placed and everything was blown up, certainly including the artillery positions. So a steel pipe?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know.
Oh, let's go in there. It could have been a speaking tube that's been squished.
Original.
I bet you're right on that. It's fairly heavy too. Angle lip to it. Yeah, that's wire. It is. Hang on. This looks like wrapped wires. This might have been from, this is communication wire, I think, if this is wrapping around the steel core. Because as we know that the electrical here was not insulated. Only the communication cables were insulated here. There's actually a curve to this rock. Why is it? What?
Yes.
Actually, looks like they're curves.
Yes, they are all curved if you go.
They are. Why are they in here? And what were they before? Oh, wait a minute. There could have been. No, wait a minute. Didn't he say that there was no generator room here? There was no electrical power. It came from the city. So this is not. I was thinking stands for a generator or an oil tank, water tank, something. It really does have the feeling that this was blown up after the fact. There's just so many little things. Is this a stone or is that cement? Or is that an old cement lump?
It's cement.
It's a cement lump, isn't it?
Yes, because look,
There's the mark.
grains, the map of some.
Burlap sack. Burlap? Didn't they put them in burlap sacks? I think that's what that fabric was called.
Oh, okay. And here's another.
Yes, there is. So there's a very big possibility that some of these were repairs they tried to make because the fort was hit and they had materials and they tried to fix them in the middle of the battle. Here's another cement bag.
Yes, because it really looks like marks from the cotton fabric.
Yep. Oh, yes.
And I feel maybe. No, it's all cement.
It really does look like the bag is
Yeah.
left there. When you see the imprints, you can feel the cross threads in the bag. Very interesting. But there's so on that one too,
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
and that one. Now that I'm actually starting to pay attention to it. Well.
Oh, okay.
You see, it could be a fungus, but it sort of comes off.
Alright.
Because it's also green here, where the wall has been blown up.
Yes, okay.
So that's probably a fungus. It's a rather round thing. Another cement bag, maybe? Yes.
There's something surrounding here, maybe also.
It's just. Yeah, there's the hooks for. There's 2 floors of bathroom, I doubt it. Look at this. These are curved too. I think it might have been, because what else would this have been? That's just really luxurious. If you actually make curved inside ceilings, but they might have.
I mean, we are in Italy. Like, not really.
Wasn't it built by the Austrian Hungarians though? I mean, it's. I see that as highly possible. See what the holes look like. I mean, all this is. All these are curved, so why not?
These are definitely from the tiles.
Yeah.
From some ceramic one, I assume. But where do you know?
Yeah, and if you look at the roof above us, that's curved too. What's left of it. So, that sort of explains that, I guess. I can't believe that that they had steel firing ports. I can't believe it. It's a fact. Here it is.
I can't believe they had like art tiles here.
They were very artistic back then. And here could have been the speaking tube coming down. Certainly there's a pipe in the wall from above. Could have been. Hole in the wall up there for something. And the wood and the door sills are still here. Finally, Fort Hermann. This is what I saw when I realized I had to see this place and I had to show you. So I didn't know a whole lot about it. I just knew it was sitting up here in the Alps. And it looked really, really interesting. And it has a little bit of steel dome over it. So was this one of history's first Panzer forts, built by the Austro-Hungarians? Or wasn't it? Well, a Panzer fort denotes it would have steel emplacements, and it did. And the view, well, impeccable.
There's something amazing about Alpine fortresses. Huge defensive structures full of cannons, artillery, and soldiers, placed on the highest, most unfriendly peaks on Earth. I'm going to try to visit all of those who still remain, built by the Italians, the Austro-Hungarians, and every other nation with Alps, simply because these structures are worth seeing, not to mention the plight of those who fought, served, and constructed them. There's much more to the mountains. Besides, no graffiti artists have made their way up here to ruin them.
And possible Austrian war would come from here. Right along this road into Italy. So of course, it's guarded severely. This was made by the Italians. This is how they would camouflage their positions. They would put plaster on mesh, like you see here, is what's left of this metal mesh. And you'd see this is then bricked up, which is sad, but here we are. This is either the other position. Yeah, this is the other firing point. This is the other firing point, but the whole wall side was camouflaged in this plaster they put over mesh, so they made it look exactly like nature, which is really interesting. See, like this groove here.
My name is Tino Struckmann. I run Lost Battlefields. Every year, I travel around the world to try to bring you to all the most interesting historical military locations from modern wars and the World War II special projects, battlefields, forts, fortresses, and tunnels, everything else. Things you may not be able to see or go to yourselves. Please join me on Patreon or join Lost Battlefields through the website so you get access to all my files and my notes. It really does help, and like, follow, share here on the channel if you can. That helps too.